Alright, this is Mrs. McHale. Today we're going to talk about how to create a pedigree by looking at one of my favorite case studies, which is the Kentucky Blue people. So before I get into the excitingness that is the Kentucky Blue people, a pedigree tracks the traits between generations in a family. So if you have like a purebred dog that came with papers, you may have seen its pedigree. You can track the bloodlines of an animal. You also can do this with traits in people. So to point out a few key facts first, so when we have a square, that tells us we have a male. When we have a circle, this indicates the person is a female. Now, when the square or the circle is completely shaded in, this means the person is affected with whichever trait it is we're trying to follow. So it doesn't matter what trait it is. When it's all shaded in, that means the person is affected. That means when it's not shaded in, this means the person is unaffected, meaning they do not carry the trait that we're looking at. This line right here means that they had a child or children. And so these people had child 1 and child 2, a girl and a boy. And these half shaded ones means that the person is a carrier. So when we're looking at whether somebody has the homozygous or the heterozygous condition, the carrier we know is somebody who is heterozygous. So we've got 3 people in this family who are heterozygous. The rest are unaffected. Okay, so let's look at this in context. So there's a well-studied family called the Fugate family in Troublesome Creek, Kentucky, which was a very isolated small community that had notoriously blue skin. So you can see here's a family, some of them have it, some of them don't. Some are more blue than others, and it affects different parts of their body. So this one here is slightly blue, this one here very blue. So we're going to track this through their pedigree to see how this trait might be passing through the family. Okay, so the Fugate clan was started, and as far back as we can go is to 1820. A man named Martin, who they think was blue, who married a redheaded woman named Elizabeth. So we're going to start by drawing our pedigree. So we know we had the first person was a man who was married to a redheaded woman, and he was affected. So we're going to color him completely in. We know that they had 7 children, 4 of whom were blue, but because of genetic data, we can only get the information for one of their sons, so I'm just going to draw part of the family tree. So one of their sons that was blue, this one's name is Zachary Martin, married one of his mother's sisters. So he married his aunt. That was very common back then, but you'll see it plays a role in how this passes through the generations. So these 2 also had several children. But they had a son named Levi. That's the one we can track, who was not blue, and he married somebody else who was not blue. Together, they also had 8 children, including one named Luna, who was legendary for being blue. So we have Luna. So we're only going to draw the children for which we have information, because otherwise it's going to get to be a lot really fast. Okay, so let's see what else we've got here. So Luna married a man named John Stacy, who was not blue. And together they had 13 children. However, no blue children. She had 13 children, none of whom were blue. That's pretty significant. However, they had a son who married somebody, we don't know the name, who had a son named Alva. Alva was not blue, but he married a woman named Hilda. And what's important about Hilda is Hilda was from part of the family. So Hilda was a cousin as part of this extensive family. Now they're having 8, 7, 13 children per generation, so there's a lot of them. So together, they have a son, which is the most recent ancestor we can track, who was blue. His name was Ben. Okay, so we can see how this moves through the generations. We've got Martin, Zachary, Luna, and Ben, who all show the trait. So this then gives us the question, is blue skin a heritable trait? Can we say it's a heritable trait? Yes. It's moving through the generations. But what type of inheritance pattern is it? So we've got some key information we need to key in here. So we know that these people were related. These people are related. So we know that the way that genetics works, in order for the father, let's say we'll use B for blue skin. The father has 2 copies. We know that some of these people have to be carriers. So if this person has 2 copies, then this person must have 1 copy. But the person they married must also have a copy in order to have a child that has blue skin. We know that this person must have had a copy, who gave it to their son, who must have had a copy, who married somebody in their family, who also must have had a copy, in order for them to get a son that had 2 copies. So if you look at these people, we have the father, we've got the mother, going back to our Punnett squares. This child right here is this. So if this leaves you curious, what is happening to the blue people? It turns out that they have a problem in their red blood cells where their blood is not returning to normal oxygenation afterwards, which leaves them looking a little blue. So that's how we do pedigrees.